The immigration push. I say there is a reasonable shot at a deal. Listen to Charles Schumer. Roll tape.
Sooner the better. And if we can come up with a bipartisan compromise that looks like it's right in the ballpark of 60, let it rip. Let's go.
Rip, let's go. Joining us now, Marc Short, White House House Legislative Affairs Director. Mark, the president seems to be absolutely determined on one thing, and that is the wall. Is that a non-negotiating position?
Well, Stuart, thanks for having me. I think the president is sincere about not just the wall, but actually fixing this problem once and for all. What we're trying to avoid is a short-term solution that Congress is usually good at, which is just kicking the can down the road and having some sort of Band-Aid approach. We think, as you were saying in your intro, that part of that solution is border security, but also part of it is prioritizing the nuclear family and keeping allowances to spouses and children as far as those that are brought in, not extended family, as you were commenting on, and also ending diversity lottery programs.
Is that an absolute position which will not change?
Well, it is, Stuart, because what we don't want to be is right back here in the same place a couple years from now, which is what we fear is if Congress just does a Band-Aid approach, we're going to be having the same conversation again in a couple of years. So these are solutions that we need to fix the problem for the longer term. There's a lot of things we also need to address, such as E-Verify, ag workers, that we also are anxious to do, but we kind of feel like that begins to pull apart the coalitions, and we'll deal with that at a later point.
I don't think there's 60 votes in the Senate for a deal which says we build the wall, we end chain migration, we end the lottery, and okay, 1.8 million dreamers can stay. I don't think there's 60 votes for that.
Well, Stuart, I think that we'll find that out soon enough. I think that the president has yielded significantly to Democrats on the size of that population. We started with 690,000 DACA permit holders. We expanded where Democrats want in exchange for some of the solutions that we're asking for. And the American people support these solutions by 70%, each of those four pillars. So we certainly hope that Democrats will come on board.
Do you think we are closer to a deal?
You know, Stuart, I found it interesting that Democrats for months said they were going to shut down the government until DACA was solved. And yesterday, when we tried to move to the bill, Senate Democrats objected because they weren't ready to. So we do find irony that that we are willing to stop payment to troops and stop funding a lot of government services over a debate on this when they weren't ready to actually move to it. So we are anxious to begin having amendments on the floor this week. We think that it'll be a fast-moving process that the next 72 hours should have a lot of debate on these issues.
Mark, can you explain how the infrastructure plan works to me?
Sure.
In the states in particular. Now, there are some states which just don't have any money, but they are supposed to pony up money to match some federal money that goes in. Look, New Jersey, New York, they don't have any spare cash. How are they going to partake in the program?
Well, Stuart, there's a couple things. One, I think that's getting underreported is that we're also looking to streamline the permitting process because in many cases these projects are delayed and become far more expensive in the bureaucracy.
Sir, forgive me for interrupting. I do apologize for that, but I do agree that that is one of the most important parts of the whole infrastructure program. You speed the permitting process up. But that doesn't answer the question about the money. Where does let's suppose you've got $1 billion project in New Jersey, for example. The feds chuck in $100 million. You've got $900 million that you still got to find. Is the state going to come up with that? Is private enterprise going to come up with that? And in what circumstances?
The answer is yes to your question, Stuart. It's both. What we're going to be looking to do is not forcing states to pony up dollars. It's saying we're going to offer you federal dollars that will entice private investment to come alongside and to match it. So, yes, we are asking state and local governments to say if we put forward some federal dollars, then you should have some skin in the game, too, and that'll help spur additional dollars and investment coming in.
They don't have it.
Well, Stuart, you mentioned the case of what some states are as far as their state budgets. The federal government also has $20 trillion in debt. And so it's not really fair for taxpayers to be asked to swallow the entire bill from the federal government.
But that could be a killer, couldn't it? I mean, where the infrastructure programs are most required, I mean, New Jersey and New York, I know this very well, they don't have the money. They might not get that infrastructure built.
I think in many cases they'll be able to get private investment to come alongside those projects. That will be part of the state and local government responsibility.
If I'm a private guy and I'm ponying up some money for an infrastructure project, how do I get my money back?
There'll be, in many cases, you've seen some of the projects across the Midwest where there's actual revenue from, say, toll roads and other projects that come in. So we think that there's actually a significant opportunity and that private investment will come alongside.
Okay. Marc Short, we thank you very much for joining us, sir. Thanks a lot,
Stuart,
sir.
thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir.